Welcome back to Cowpart Bros. Jason and I are fresh off the segment discussing the Brett Favre welfare scandal. I feel comfortable calling it a scandal. If nothing else happened, it's a scandal. It's scandalous as hell. In the second segment, we're going to be talking about something a little less salacious and a little more celebratory, honestly. And that is the accomplishment that Albert Pujols has finally made it to the 700 Club. And even better yet, he did it in a Cardinals uniform, Jason.
Does that make it better or worse?
I think it's better. I think despite some of the antics when Albert Pujols originally left for the Angels by a lot of St. Louis Cardinals fans
I can
who,
attest to that, and I'll get into it.
I mean, why don't you just get into it now, dog? Because I mean, even as an outside observer, I was like, damn, that's kind of ignorant. Go ahead.
Let's just say the reputation that Cardinal fans like to tout themselves as being the best fans in baseball, Cardinal heaven. Uh, the lies of that came to play when Pujols left. When it comes to calling all sorts of names I don't want to go into on air, stuff like that. But basically, radio shows blasting them, social media blasting them, stuff like that. Now, some of that may have been anger. I get it, but at the same time, it's just hypocritical. You're the best fans of baseball. You should understand why he left.
I mean, so when you say they were blasting, like, in what way? Like, was this kind of like a LeBron scoring lover, star leaves the loyal fan base of the city? Like
I don't recall any burning jerseys or anything like that with LeBron. So I won't say it's that bad. Not to say it didn't happen, but really more just verbal tirades or typing tirades, stuff like that. People again on the radio just talking shit to him, saying that good riddance. He's not going to be as good as he was when he left here. All basically just hating stuff. Basically just kind of not sour grapes or anything, but just like children. And again, they Cardinal fans make themselves sound like to be like the classiest people, or excuse me, classiest fans, best fans out there. That went out the window that day. And I'll gladly point it out to them every time. Now, also, they were very hypocritical when he came back. Like, where's that energy when he left? Where's that energy back? Where was that back then? Now I know time heals all wounds, but yeah, when he left, yeah, they show their true colors, in my opinion, and just show that they're not the greatest fans of baseball. They're just fans, like anybody else.
I think, well, one, people got to remember why he left in the first place. It's $240 million, for God's sakes.
Exactly the point I made to him as well. More money to play in a better environment. No offense to St. Louis, but playing in California, probably a better situation. And he could be a DH. So yeah. No offense to St. Louis. You got your two championships. Number one, you ain't won one since. So, and it'll be complete. I hope it doesn't happen, but it'll be totally funny if the Cardinals win the World Series this year when he came back. What a coincidence. Yeah. Whatever. We don't need to go there. I feel myself getting angry again and all that. So
I mean, and so he was with. I mean, that was 2011, so that's a 10-year deal. That would have been 2021. So he was with the Angels the full decade, right?
well, he spent a year ish with the Dodgers too. So yeah, there's that.
Was that a trade
Yeah,
situation?
I'd have to look that up. I don't recall that, to be honest with you. I feel like it probably was. He wasn't there very long, but yeah,
But yeah,
very much
I think.
forgotten the Dodgers years of Pujols. Yeah,
So was there more than one?
I feel like it was a partial year. Let me look that up to be sure here. But yeah, there was at least one partial year, and I feel like it was a year and a half, but I could be wrong with that. But he didn't. Yeah, it was much of nothing basically. That was a very down year for him. It's funny to hit all these home runs. Now he's back in St. Louis, like he's like energized to be back there, which I'll give him that. Because it seemed like the Angels years were kind of going downhill, and then with the Dodgers, it seemed like okay, this is a sad ending to the tale of Albert Pujols. But then he went back to the Cardinals, and all of a sudden, again, now he's part of the 700 home run club. Um, so yeah, it's been very impressive that he got there. As the season ended, I didn't think he'd get there because I figured he was too far away with not enough games. But he started going on a tirade, even hitting 2 home runs in a game a few times, and he got there, this past weekend. So a very impressive feat, regardless of my feelings about him, the Cardinals, anything about that. It's an impressive feat. I mean, anything is impressive especially Major League Baseball, given the MLB has been around since the early 1900s or before. It's very impressive whenever one player can do something that only three other people have done in the history of baseball, which we'll get into that as well. So you have to give kudos to that. Again, 150 something plus years of baseball, more than that, and only four guys have done this. So kudos to him.
All right. So so you chimed in a little bit about the era when he left. I mean, at that point he had been playing for 8 or 9 years. So a decline would not have been unreasonable. And it was the equivalent of a king's ransom. I mean, hell, if another employer offered to pay me that shit, I might have to think about it for 2 seconds before I put in my 2 weeks. um, but all of the acrimony about free agency and you know this resurgence. What's ironic is had he not gone to a league where he could play DH, he may not have even gotten a 700.
Facts. The wear and tear on his body playing first base, exactly. Which again, I can't blame him for the move from going to St. Louis to Anaheim. So, like I said, I have to say it worked. So yeah,
It worked. It just
correct.
it didn't yield any actual successful long uh postseason successes. But it did yield. I mean, it definitely helped him in the pocketbook. So
Facts, exactly. So, I mean, looking at to answer your question about the Dodgers, correct? He was only there for part of the year. I don't think it was a trade. I think he was released from the Angels and he just signed with the Dodgers. I'm sure that was convenient. He was still living in LA, but he only played so many games. 86, played 85 games with the Dodgers that year in 2021. Only 24 with the Angels. Um, so most of that year was spent with the Dodgers, and then, like I said, this past year he's back with the Cardinals. And again, I don't want to say he's having a resurgent year, but the fact that he has 21 home runs, which is the most he's had since 2019, which isn't that long ago, but go back before that, that's when his numbers started kind of dropping compared to the 40-ish home runs you hit before. Um, One other thing that I think is pretty cool, and when it comes to this goes into whenever somebody hits like a huge milestone like this, the conversation goes to, okay, who's going to be the next person to do this, you know? But I think one challenge to that though too, but one thing that's pretty cool with Pujols is that the number of home runs he hit before turning 30, because I think that number is important. Because if you're going to talk about getting to 700, it's somebody that's going to be around for a long time, right? Again, Pujols started when he was about 20, 21, and now he's 42 now, so he got the seasons in there. He hit 408 home runs before turning 30. Excuse me, which is the fourth most of all time. Only Jimmy Fox, Ken Griffey Jr., and Alex Rodriguez hit more before turning 30. And I do want to point out, like I just said earlier, none of them got to 700 home runs. None of them. Alex Rodriguez came close. He got 696. So in a way, huge drop off after he turning 30. And that's what's important there. So people want to point to like Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge right now, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt. Well, great. They're great hitters right now. They might have a shot. But even Aaron Judge, he's already 30 years old. And he has less than 300 home runs.
really,
Yeah. Because I think with him, he got a later start in his career when it comes to the major leagues, which is another point to, again, somebody getting to 700. You got to start in the league young and be consistent somewhat with hitting a lot of home runs, especially from 21 to 30. And a lot of guys these days aren't going to get that shot immediately entering in at 21. So I personally, I, it's hard to say never, but I don't think that guy who's going to hit 700 home runs next is currently in the league right now. I don't think he's there.
yeah. I mean, there's no telling, you know, where the next Albert Pujols is, and that just really speaks to the volumes. I mean, this is an impressive feat. I don't care if you hate the St. Louis Cardinals. Jason, I will say, by the way, that I think that Albert Pujols' pursuit of 700 has probably generated more publicity for Major League Baseball than Aaron Judge's pursuit of breaking the American League record for home runs.
I'm not. That's an opinion, so I'm not gonna kill you on it. But I have to disagree. I have to say it's probably a combination of both. Um, 'cause I feel like if it was only one or the other, it probably wouldn't make a difference. But I was actually thinking about that earlier. It's like it's pretty cool that we have two different home run marks being chased by two different players in a way, two different perspectives of their careers. You have one guy going for a career home run milestone versus the guy trying to break a single season league record in the 61 home runs, which for a long time was considered one of the greatest numbers in sports, 61 home runs in a season, which obviously has been surpassed multiple times by guys who reduced. Um, and that's one of the things said
You're
by Albert Pujols.
rejuvenated. Yeah.
And that's another thing to say about Albert Pujols. Throughout his career, he's never been a steroid guy. So now that leads me to a question I wanted to make sure I asked you during this podcast, sir, especially given your status that you're not as hardcore of a fan as me. So like I said several times, Albert Pujols is now the fourth member of the 700 home run club in Major League Baseball, joining Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, and Babe Ruth. And I heard this question asked specifically on the radio the other day. They mentioned that, okay, obviously Barry Bonds is known to be as a juicer, steroids for those who don't know the lingo. Um,
He's on
and
that
I,
Dr.
and
Lane. Yeah.
exactly. And they say Hank Aaron played at a very, very extremely hitter friendly park that was known as the launching pad. And then they also mentioned that Babe Ruth never played with any minority players, no black players. Given all that, the question he asked, given all that, was of those four guys, who had the most impactful run or so to 700? I'll reveal his answer in a minute, but I want to hear what your opinion is.
Um. So I believe your question is which one was a more impactful run to 700?
Correct. A more impactful run, more meaningful, whatever. Yeah, those are the two words he used. Which one was more impactful slash meaningful to get there?
I mean, I'm curious, impactful or meaningful in what way? Like, how are
Just,
you defining that? Like,
well,
impactful to
I'm
me,
asking.
it resonated with
Yeah,
me.
your opinion. Your opinion. Yeah. I
um,
mean, keeping in mind, obviously, we were only alive for two of them, but still.
I still got to say Hank Aaron.
Why do you
I
say
mean,
that?
because the man received fucking death threats the closer he got to Babe Ruth. I mean, let's not even get into the debate whether or not Babe Ruth was actually white or not, because there's definitely been there have been some conflicting reports on his ethnicity, even though he identified as a white man. Just saying.
Well, we all know how you identify is very important. So,
Yes. Um, but Hank Aaron was subjected to horrible um I mean death threats um as he got closer to Babe Ruth's record. And so for me that's probably the most impactful because it it really speaks to the power of this record, number 1, and it speaks to Hank Aaron isn't big by today's standards, but Hank Aaron, you know, was a pretty big guy for the Braves. So to
well,
me, that's
in his later years, yeah, I actually looked into that too, like the body dimensions or whatnot of some of these guys. And Hank Aaron, in the later years, might have been a little when he hit the 715. Yeah, he's a little older and a little heftier. But back in his younger years, he was not. He was actually more slight, kind of like
kind of like Barry
180
Bonds.
ish, minus the steroids. Yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah, that's another aspect to that. But yeah, the guy on the radio who answered the question said the exact same thing. That obviously Hank Aaron didn't end up with the most home runs, as it stands right now. That's belongs to Barry Bonds with the juice, unfortunately. But that's one thing he exactly thing he mentioned that his path to getting to Babe Ruth's number involved death threats, you know, like legitimate death threats. And I feel like anybody who has to go through that just because they're playing a game, just because they're breaking some other guy's record that most people who send those death threats probably never even was even alive during the Babe Ruth era. But yet that number meant so much to them, they just want to be total racist. And let's send this black guy death threats because he's trying to break Babe Ruth's record. So the fact that he still did that, knowing that this could be a possibility, somebody trying to kill me for this or my family, yeah, that's more meaningful and impactful because he still went out and did it. No offense to Pujols, no offense to Barry Bonds, but Barry Bonds obviously his number is tainted. I think it's 770 or so, whatever it is. That number is tainted forever. And, I'm sure people wish that somebody would come along and break the record. Like I said, Albert Pujols may be the closest person to have done it, and he's not even the Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron. So, unfortunately, folks, Barry Bonds' number may have to stand for a long time. Because again, even Pujols, A-Rod, Griffey, all those guys who had a good start to their careers. Again, they started young, started hot, tailed off. Now again, even A-Rod had the power of the juice too. He still can get to 700. So Griffey, sweetest swing in baseball, cut off, at whatever number he got to. He got to 600. So yeah, Barry Bonds' number may stand. We may never ever see another 700 home run member in Major League Baseball, but that is what it is. So again, congrats to Albert Pujols. You're the fourth guy, and you may be the last. So kudos to you. You may hit some more in this last run of your season. If you do, hey, good for you. It's been good watching you. It's been painful to watch you sometimes, but you did your thing. Can't hate you for that.
Yeah, and amnesia for what a lot of those fans said in 2011 is probably a good thing for those fans and for him. I'll say that much.
Trust me, if I still had the willingness to go back and look at some of these posts, I would definitely pull them out real quick to call people out. But I don't got that kind of time, so I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, let's save it for the Ballpark Village champ.
Oh, I plan to.
Yeah. All right. That concludes our segment on the accomplishments of one Albert Pujols. Coming up next, we're going to talk about how Ume Udoka messed up one hell of a gig. Coming up on Cal Park Bros.